go, for a touch of home. It's your local USO, and you can find many of the things you miss most. Things like milkshakes, current magazines, a poster shop, and telephones to the States. The girls at the USO have a lot of special things planned for you, so stop in. It's a great place to visit.
From Saigon, Channel 54 AM, 99.9 FM.
ASBN.
Paris, France. Kissinger fights his diplomatic war at the long-running preliminary peace talks in Paris. Finally, after 2 years, in October 1972, both sides reach an agreement for a ceasefire. U.S. troops will be withdrawn while POWs are released. President Nixon suspends all bombing on October 22nd. Weeks later, on November 7, 1972, President Nixon once more wins the office of the presidency in a landslide, having gained 60% of the popular vote over opponent George McGovern.
Because of America's bold initiatives, 1972 will be long remembered as the year of the greatest progress since the end of World War II toward a lasting peace in the world. The peace we seek in the world is not the flimsy peace which is merely an interlude between wars.
The Paris peace talks were ours. They've been going on since 1968. And, they'd say, they argued the size of the table, whatever, just dragging it out because they're still trying to take long enough to raise another crop of young men to go get killed.
But the war is far from over. South Vietnam's leader, Nguyen Van Thieu, demands conditions for the treaty that sets negotiations back with Hanoi as talks end on December 13th.
What's the future of the Paris peace talks? I think that the sort of discussions that have been going on in the Paris peace talks are not affected by such temporary ups and downs as the private peace talks. So I'm sure that Minister Xuan Thuy and Ambassador Porter will find many subjects for mutual recrimination.
Nixon, anxious to have the war over with, promises South Vietnam $1 billion in military equipment and a promise for U.S. intervention in the event of renewed aggression from North Vietnam. As for North Vietnam, they trade accusations and charges with the United States, leading to their rejection of peace and the president's frustration. Nixon will have to remind them of the firepower yielded by the United States and give them no choice but to negotiate. Nixon gives Hanoi 3 days to resume negotiations, along with a promise of grave consequences if not. Hanoi ignores the ultimatum, and they are about to face the president's wrath. And so starts Operation Linebacker II, also known as the Christmas bombing.
And it would have been real easy for us to go and fire up those B-52s and laying waste to North Vietnam and laying, mining the Haiphong Harbor all over again.
December 18th, 1972. Within 3 days, 207 B-52 bombers, split between bases in Guam and Thailand, and several support aircraft, are prepared for this unprecedented airstrike in the war against North Vietnam. Targeted by this first wave of bombers are North Vietnamese airfields at Kep, Phuc Yen, and Hoa Loc, as well as a warehouse complex in Yen Vien. The second and third target is Hanoi itself. Operation Linebacker is only intended to last for 3 days, but the president extends it beyond that. While aircraft continue to target airfields, transportation hubs, and industrial sites, such as oil storage, part of a hospital is accidentally bombed. As the third phase of Operation Linebacker II continues, On December 26th, Nixon gets Hanoi to agree to resume discussions on January 2nd. Still getting resistance from South Vietnamese President Thieu, Nixon finally threatens to sign the peace without him. South Vietnam finally agrees. The Christmas bombing ends on December 29th. 2,000 sorties have been flown, dispensing 35,000 tons of bombs. North Vietnam is in shambles, with 25% of their oil and 80% electrical capacity destroyed. Approximately 1,624 North Vietnamese civilians are killed.
The troops have been out since early '72. They're pulling them all out and downsizing. Only people we had in there at the end of '72 were advisors, and the South Vietnamese Army was doing just fine on their own. We just had advisors in there, and we knew that. We knew they were coming down. They keep saying, "See, they're going away. They're going to leave you here. We're going to keep you forever," and then the bombing started again. And it wasn't very much. We didn't hear it. It was down below a certain parallel. And we could hear them screaming about it, and the U.S. aggressors, and we'd see a reconnaissance airplane go over every once in a while. But then Christmas bombing in 1972, they evacuated half of us up to the Chinese border in a camp up there. But the B-52s finally, and missions that were planned in 1965, finally in 1972, late 72, executed these things, and within 60 days we were home. They virtually shut North Vietnam down, and they weren't going to recover on their own. China couldn't do it, Russia couldn't do it. The only one that could build them back is us. And so they started talking Turkey, and they set up the POW release.
December 12th, 1972.
All has not been in vain, and all we have to do is kind of reorganize, reevaluate, and Rome wasn't built in a day, and we can't overcome all the injustices or make this a perfect world overnight. But we are on our way, and we are going to do just that before it's over.
Upon leaving the presidency, Lyndon B. Johnson returned to his ranch home in Stonewall, Texas. In 1971, the Lyndon B. Johnson Public Library opens in Austin, Texas. Having suffered from heart problems the last few years, President Johnson has a massive heart attack on January 22, 1973. President Lyndon B. Johnson dies on January 22, 1973, at age 64. His death comes a month after that of former President Harry S. Truman, and a day before an historical event in the Vietnam War. January 23, 1973. Beaten by the Christmas bombing and already weakened by the Easter offensive, the North Vietnamese are in little position to refuse the October treaty that they'd earlier abandoned. North Vietnam and the United States signed the Paris Peace Accords on January 23, 1973. But the war in Vietnam is not over. Not over there, nor at home.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.